Screw this. I'm walking out.
Hello and welcome to Walked Out On. We walked out on Jackie Brown. This is our little halfway series for between the full episodes of Walked Out, where we just talk about one movie. You know, like normal people and not crazy game show psychopaths like Stephen Fry. And fuck that guy.
National treasure, Stephen Fry. You watch your tongue.
Yes, Stephen Fry, national treasure. Yeah, with me, the guy who just spoke, Stuart.
Hello.
I didn't think of a bit.
To be honest, you don't need to do a bit. This is an offbeat episode.
Who is stealing money and smuggling it from Mexico. And selling guns and getting shot at repeatedly and then shagging a woman. And I'm not going to do the whole movie. There's also Ben. Hello, Ben.
Yo,
He's got a bad afro or something.
I've got a bad afro.
Yeah, he's got a rat's tail beard.
Yeah.
Ben with his disgusting beard.
I've actually shaved this week.
Really?
So yeah, it's Lockdown Beard 2 has come to an end.
Yeah.
What was with that outfit?
Honestly, if there's anything this movie did well, it's somehow making that beard look like not too uncool. It didn't look good, but considering if you saw someone with that beard in real life, you'd think they were homeless. It's better than that.
It's about what the beard represents, though. He's meant to look...
Yeah.
I think he looks
It
awful.
represents not caring what anyone thinks of you.
No, he looks awful.
He looks like shit.
Because he's not very good at being a criminal. Or maybe he is, but
Yeah.
he's an idiot. Kind of.
I was watching it with Lucy, and we were at one point discussing whether his hair was a weave or not. And that was also when I found out what a weave actually is.
Ooh, that's a question.
Yeah. It's when you do put your hair into, what hair you've got into, cornrows on your head, and then you sew a wig essentially onto that.
Oh, I thought you sewed it into your scalp.
No, you sew it onto the hair that's already there, and you do that on, tight plaits, like cornrows.
Ah, right, okay.
Apparently. I haven't checked that after someone told me.
I have to say, with him and Robert De Niro, who was also dressed terribly throughout the film.
But again, that's he's just out of prison.
It's part of the thing.
Yeah.
The word...
He's a skeevy character just out of prison.
The word slobs just came to mind as soon as I saw them.
Well, if you'd just done 4 years hard time, you'd be a bit off your game as well. I could have done without seeing his O face though. No, I don't think anyone wanted to see that.
Yeah, that was. Oh God. Thank you for making me watch this.
Man, I just kind of glossed over that and let it bounce off my brain.
Well, it's dragging back in.
I never want to see that again.
Yeah, you just etching it back in there. No, you're not allowed to forget this.
You'll never forget.
So, right, I already know what Ben thought. Did you like this movie, Stuart?
I really did enjoy it.
Yeah, I really liked it too. Ben, you're wrong. I'm right now. I improve you're wrong by democracy. 2-1, motherfucker.
What did you not like about it, Ben? What was your big gripe? Let's start with the gripes, and then we can get into the good stuff.
It's not that I didn't like it. It's just that I also, I just thought it was fine. It was okay. I think it's probably the weakest Tarantino film I've seen to date.
See, a lot of people consider it the strongest, but in a different way.
There's nothing that really stood out to me, to be honest. I can basically describe to you all of the major plot points of all of his other films. This is the second time I've seen this film, and the first time I watched it, I thought, this isn't really clicking for me. And I came back to it and I thought, okay, I was a bit younger, I'll give it another chance. It still didn't click for me. I honestly can't tell you what happens. The characters kind of meander about and, fuck each other for a little bit.
No, they don't.
That's scene building.
Yeah. I honestly, no, I've got to completely disagree with you. It's not meandering about.
Okay, all I can tell you about the story is that something money flight attendant in trouble, something Robert De Niro, Samuel L. Jackson hang out, something Robert De Niro fucks Samuel L. Jackson's girlfriend.
Not girlfriend, surfer chick.
I think the easiest thing to do is compare this to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which a movie you've not seen, Ben.
I have not seen it.
Now, based on this, I've got a feeling, because I've been trying to get you to...
Have you not seen that?
Because I've been trying to get Ben to watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Now that I know he doesn't like Jackie Brown, I've got a feeling he might hate Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Ooh.
Because for lack of a better term, on an objective level, it is basically just a couple of hours of watching the characters meander about, before anything happens, parentheses, when it's not. He's building this world without all that meandering about, as you called it, Ben. We wouldn't know why the characters are doing the things that they're doing by the end of the film.
I get what you mean, and to go on a bit of a tangent here, this is why some people don't like the Blade Runner films, because it is just a load of meandering about and world building. The issue is that I don't...
Is it? There's a lot more shooting women in the back in Blade Runner.
I mean, there is, but like
just sort of during...
You know, you have entire scenes where the guy's literally just like going, zoom in, zoom out, get closer, go left, go right.
Yeah, but that's all of CSI.
I've never seen it.
God's sake.
Oh, okay, well, you're a waste of jokes.
I think that the difference is that I think that was... You guys are going to hate me for this, compelling world building. And I don't think it was the case here. To be fair, this is the first Tarantino film I've watched that I don't like. So I was really surprised.
Right.
Well, anyway, now that we've heard Ben's opinion, I think we should spend the rest of the podcast ganging up on him about it.
Yeah, we should.
So,
sounds great.
Welcome to our new section, Fuck Ben. Pew, 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 pew. Yeah. No, I also really liked this movie. Like, it caught me early on with the, you can see what's going on with Chris Tucker, where you're like, is he okay? I think he's going to shoot him. Is he going to shoot him? And then he fucking executes the guy. And yeah, just like all that Tarantino conversation stuff they do with Sam Jackson, who was Ordell, and Robert Forster was Max Cherry, but the bail bondsman. Like, them two talking about it, and the guy clearly, like, just sort of clearly being pretty aware that some shit's going on here, but not making any moves.
That's the thing that I really liked about the early parts of the film. It shows crime as a business rather than criminals as a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And it's somewhere between grungy underworld and mob movie.
Yeah. Because it sets up the characters really well. Like you were saying, world building before Ben, but there was a lot more like character building. So they set up Sam Jackson as like selling weapons, and like also then have someone undercut him as like, he's just repeating stuff. This is just salesmanship.
Yeah, he's literally repeating what the bikini girls were saying.
Yeah.
Like to be fair, that's marketing. It's just repeating information, but doing it with charisma.
And he's got his girlfriend there who's just like enjoying her gig of smoking weed and fucking people.
Yeah.
And then who then comes back to try and fuck him over. Like, everyone sort of, there's a lot of scheming and double crossing in this, which I quite like.
Yeah. But that's the thing. It's a mark of a good Stitch movie. Have either of you watched The Stitch? It's a really old film starring Robert Redford.
The Stitch? I haven't, but I'm Googling.
Okay. Sure, I watched it with my dad a good couple of years ago.
Well, I Googled The Stitch and it didn't even come up with the movie.
Okay, type in Robert Redford Stitch. The Stitch.
Oh, okay. It came up with Stitch the movie, as in Lilo and Stitch.
Oh, fuck me.
Robert Redford 2 cross-stitch pattern PDF.
Okay.
Are you sure it was called The Stitch?
Yeah, maybe it was called The Sting. Okay, yeah, it's called The Sting. I'm an idiot.
Okay, it's called The Sting. Yes, this is a really good Lilo and Stitch movie, isn't it?
No, okay, sorry. It's, for lack of a better term, it's a very good Sting movie. Now,
1973 crime drama.
Yeah, so
What was it called? What was it called? Snatch?
Fuck off. Let me explain my bit.
Yeah, it was called The Snatch.
Okay, so The Sting, starring Robert Redford.
Yeah, so in the movie The Switch.
Fuck off! Let me explain my bit. So, in the movie The Sting, I almost said Stitch again, fuck me.
Starring The Simpsons.
So in the movie Boy.
It's basically, imagine an episode of The Real Hustle.
Okay.
Over the course of 2 hours, but it's a mafia movie.
Okay, so it's a Mafia Hustle movie.
Where one mafia guy is basically going to rob another mafia guy, but it's all a big ruse.
Oh, okay.
And so instead of stealing the money, they convince you to give them your money.
Oh, that sounds interesting. I'm looking at the little short synopsis here. Swindler Johnny Hooker, good name, whose partner is butchered by the henchmen of Doyle Lonergan, a ruthless crime boss, seeks to take revenge. Aiding him is Henry Gondorf. Man, where was he when the Westfold fell? Yeah, that sounds really interesting. I might have to watch that, watch some old movies like I don't usually.
Yeah, unfortunately it's got the pace of a 70s movie, incomplete with intermissions and everything.
Yeah.
But is enjoyable. But the reason I compare it to that is that you can see all the puzzle pieces fitting together. You see them putting the plan together. You know what the bad guys think. You know what the good guys think. You don't have all of the information because otherwise there's no tension.
Yeah.
And there's always elements of things going wrong, the unexpected, much like in Jackie Brown, her over the course of this. You see them making plans. You see them making other plans with other characters. And it's difficult for me as a viewer because I've got to keep sort of mental track of what the characters do and don't know and what they think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because that was a bit in the movie where, like, in this movie, not The Sting, obviously, there was the bit where the character who is going to collect the money at the end sees the bail bondsman, Max Cherry, in there.
Robert De Niro, yeah.
And he's clearly unsure. And then, like, later on, he's like, oh, well, I saw the guy, but I didn't really know him. I wasn't sure if he lives here, so maybe he's... Yeah, and then gets shot for not talking about it. Yeah, see, that was, like, sort of... That built up a lot of tension. It made it interesting.
Yeah, because I honestly...
Not to Ben, though.
It's a simple scene. Like, the entire scene where the bail bondsman was just going to walk in and collect the money. That entire time, I kept expecting Samuel L. Jackson to just be behind him and just murder him.
Yeah.
I kept expecting that to happen. I'm like, please, just in and out. but it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And I was so relieved.
Honestly, the end was a lot like that as well. When Jackie Brown is like rehearsing pulling the gun in his office.
You could see how awful she is at pulling the gun.
Yeah. It's like the bit in The Joker where he's like rehearsing shooting himself in the head. But it's Jackie Brown. Like that bit, like that makes it really unclear that, like, you know, the police are around the corner. Like that makes it seem like her plan is to kill him herself. And then when he actually comes in and everything's dark and she's not like turning around in a chair like a James Bond villain. Like that made it really interesting.
Yeah.
Also, I'm looking at this movie, The Sting, and I'm sort of imagining it's a bit like Little Caesar, which is also old and kind of boring. But it does have the character Rico in it, which is what every like mob character like stereotype voice is based on. So he's the guy who's like, yeah, see, that's what you get when you mess with Rico, see? Yeah.
Ben, all of that stuff we just described did nothing for you.
Nothing.
Honestly,
he is flaccid.
No, because of one kind of key reason, which is beyond Jackie Brown, I couldn't tell you any of the characters' names. I'm not over-exaggerating here, I genuinely couldn't. Gun to my head, I couldn't tell you any of their names.
See, when I left the movie, I went and looked up a lot of their names, like I have them open here, because I can't remember them by name. But watching the movie, I had no trouble knowing who was who. Like, I remembered them. Jackie was memorable. Yep. The, like, bail bondsman, Sam Cherry, was memorable. Samuel L. Jackson's memorable. His surfer girlfriend's memorable. The two police officers are memorable.
Yeah. I remember the characters. I don't necessarily remember their names. That's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, like, I fully get you, but, like, I wasn't really invested in knowing these characters' names and shit. But, like, when you look back at it, can you remember the people, even if you don't remember what they're called?
Like, somewhat, yes. It's I don't know, it's just, there was nothing particularly special for me. I didn't really, like, feel anything. I was just kind of watching it like, oh, this is on. This is happening. It's a thing.
That's such a disappointment from you. So disappointing that you didn't enjoy...
Yeah, it's really sad.
I don't know, it's just, like, I found that Tarantino's usual kind of flair was dampened a little bit. Even something like... Okay, have you guys seen The Hateful Eight?
No.
Yes.
Okay, right. That, I would say, without going into spoiler territory, is probably also one of Tarantino's weaker films.
Okay.
But I like it because the writing and dialogue is so good. There are scenes in that I can draw upon and say, right, that scene was really great. I know exactly what happened in that scene. I'd like to go back and rewatch it again. Whereas Jackie Brown, it just felt like every other film.
Okay. See, I kind of see what you mean is in that there aren't as many standout moments.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like in another Tarantino movie, that guy shooting the surfer girl in the car park would have been a bit more of like a big punch-in zoom.
Yeah.
Like in Django Unchained, where the dentist pops out his little tiny handgun from his wrist, and the camera punches in really hard on that camera while he shoots just a random guy.
Yeah.
Like, it's really noticeable. Like, the camera goes from like 6 feet away to just framing his hand.
Yeah.
and then the blood sprays everywhere when it cuts back out.
Yeah.
Like, if there had been a bit more of that, I feel like you would have enjoyed this more, but, like, I don't think the content meaningfully changed.
It's not like even the way it was shot.
Like, the style changed rather than the substance. Because, like, she still gets shot, but, like, there's no big blood splatter.
Yeah, but it's stuff like the dentist in that film, right?
Yeah.
I can tell you that his name was Dr. King Schultz. I can tell you that
Well, to be fair, in that movie, he has a whole, like, speaking moment introducing himself.
I mean, yes, but like...
Whereas this movie kind of starts more in medias res with the characters. The characters all already know each other, basically.
Yeah.
Which is kind of why I feel like it skipped a beat somewhat. Like, I didn't...
Okay.
That's why I didn't really feel any connection to them. Like, even...
See, that's an interesting opinion, but I disagree. Therefore, I don't like you as a person.
That's
coming up next on fucking Ben. I think I've got to disagree with him some more because I think honestly it's an expectation problem with you right here because you're
expecting a Tarantino movie.
I mean, yes,
you're expecting it. The thing is, it felt like a Tarantino movie. It had that pissing 60s, 70s esque that he does so well.
Yeah.
Even though it's set in the 90s. The thing is, it was about its characters, not about the extreme things they were doing.
Yeah.
That was what's so humanizing about them.
I mean, there is a reason it's called, Jackie Brown and not the hateful chained.
Let me put it another way. It does hark back to like this lack of film's memorable moments for me. Like in that there are certain scenes in Tarantino films that are a bit weird and a bit kooky that I really love. Like Pulp Fiction, it's the Vincent Vega dancing scene. Right?
Okay.
Where he's dancing with Uma Thurman in, I don't know, like something like Inglourious Bastards. It would be that there's a scene in it with a particular character where the music goes all rocky, like, and it has like a flashback scene, and it's just great.
Which scene's that? I honestly, I find Inglourious Bastards not very memorable.
I fucking love it.
I mean, no, I think it's good. I just don't find it as memorable. Like,
I think it's a masterpiece.
I look back at Inglourious Bastards and I remember basically the end, and there is a lot of movie between the beginning and the end. Like, it takes reminding me of the funny scenes to be like, oh yeah, that was funny, or oh yeah, that was kind of cool.
But like, this is my point. Even if the film itself isn't particularly memorable, right? Like I can't remember a lot of The Hateful Eight.
Okay, no one can.
But I remember there's this one bit in it, without again going into spoilers, where like I'm not going to go into like details or anything, but it's where like the characters are all there and they're trying to like figure something out, and it's very kind of it's building up to something, right?
Oh, is that the bit where Tarantino voiceovers?
No, it's not the Tarantino voiceover bit.
Okay, because that is generally the bit I tend to remember from that movie. Like, when I think of Hateful Eight, I remember the beginning, where, like, all the characters are being introduced and that woman fucking sprays snot on the floor, and then they all walk in, and then it's sort of a blur, and then Tarantino's voiceover comes in and goes, while that was all happening, someone poisoned the coffee.
Yeah, like, even that film for me, there are still scenes in it that make me think I'd love to go back and rewatch that, because it was just so great.
Thing is, right?
It's Tarantino at his very best.
To be honest, I don't like Tarantino movies as much as you, so I feel like this is a lot of the difference of opinion we're having, is that, like...
Yeah,
you look at these things and think, I want to watch that scene again, whereas I look at these things and think, I'd watch that if it was on TV.
Yeah. All right, Ben, to disagree you again completely, because a movie is more than its bits, its individual scenes.
Yes.
I could easily, like, YouTube good bits of these movies that I like, but I would be missing the point entirely. So the reason I enjoy Jackie Brown is because you have to be active and, like, you have to be present for all of it. Like, if you cut any one of those scenes out, there'll be bits... Okay, maybe I'm being a bit generous there, but if you were to cut bits out of it, there'll be scenes later where you'll be thinking, okay, it won't be as interesting. For example, like that one-off conversation, Robert De Niro and the girl that he's with, right?
Yeah.
There's loads of scenes with them. Ultimately, they don't do that much at the end of the film, apart from collect the money and leave.
Yeah.
But it's more than that. We don't know if they're going to steal the money and leave, or if they're going to do as they're told and leave. I wasn't expecting him to shoot her.
Yeah.
I knew that she was annoying and stupid.
I was not at all. I wasn't expecting his character to get so, like, clammy at the end.
Yeah.
Because he's very chill at the beginning. Also, obviously, he's quite stoned in most of those scenes.
Yeah.
But then, like, at the end, when he's clearly, like, being a lot more controlling and freaking out and just, like, not letting her near the money.
Yeah.
And she's going, like, how did you ever rob a bank? And just pissing him off.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's where you remember he robbed a bank, but the thing is he got caught robbing a bank.
Yeah, he did.
And he's just come out of prison. He's probably shitting himself because he doesn't want to go back to prison.
Yeah.
It all makes sense.
Yeah, and she spends that time being like, I mean, have you ever considered just, like, walking off with it? And you can see him, like, just taking it in, not really replying, being tempted, sort of. See, I find that really engaging.
Yeah.
I think this is where expectations come in again, because Tarantino is one of my all-time favourite directors. And when I go into his films, I do expect certain things to come up and for there to be certain things in there.
Yeah.
And
because most of those things did come up, generally, just in a different way.
We talk about, like, me going back and watching the scenes individually. That's not the point of them. The point is that I think that one or two scenes are so good that it's worth rewatching the film because of them. And in Jackie Brown, I didn't feel like there was that.
So what you're saying is it didn't feel like a Star Wars movie?
Sorry. Jesus fucking Christ. No, but that's it, isn't it, Ben? That's you all over. It didn't feel like a Quentin Tarantino movie, did it? It didn't feel right.
Honestly, I think that was unfair on Ben when I said that. Also, we said it earlier before the podcast and he reacted exactly the same. Thank you.
Oh.
It was when we were waiting for you to arrive because you were late. But, like, I think that is actually a bit unfair, is that I see what you mean, where, like, it wasn't that it didn't feel like a Tarantino, because the conversation felt like it.
Yeah.
And, like, clearly you didn't find it actively bad. And you haven't spent this podcast going, it doesn't feel like Tarantino. But, like, if you don't get the thing that, like, when you see a trailer for a Tarantino movie, you think, I wonder what the fucking, burning all the Nazis scene in this movie is going to be.
Yeah.
Is sort of what I'm guessing.
I guess there's that, but it's just, I don't know, that like, you look at Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs before this, right?
Yeah.
And then you look at the likes of, like, Kill Bill and Inglourious Basterds after this.
Yes.
And this film sticks out like a sore thumb. I think he changed something here, and I don't think even he was happy with it, and so he's changed back. You can see a lot of similarities between his other films, but this one, it's the odd one out for me.
Would you like to know the reason I picked this movie for our walked out, talked out, or whatever the fuck we call this?
Yeah, go on.
I would, actually. I thought it was random, but go ahead.
The reason is that Mark Kermode doesn't particularly like Tarantino movies, but he does like Jackie Brown, because he sees Tarantino movies as a bit like, not childish, but sort of very up their own ass.
I can understand that thought process, yes.
In a way that he sees with Jackie Brown, feels like the Tarantino style matured and made into something more, filmic. In a way, which, I wanted to then go and watch it and see what he meant, and I do see what he means.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, I suppose if, you do love Tarantino for all of the things that I imagine Mark Kermode dislikes it for, then, that was probably underwhelming.
Well, it's like when I say that I'm a Christopher Nolan fan, but I don't like Memento, which is one of his, like, better film.
Okay, I hate you. Why?
We gotta... Okay. That's a conversation for another day. Oh my god.
Like, it's just that I don't think it doesn't show the directors at their very best.
I'll be honest, there's not been a Quentin Tarantino movie that I've not liked, alright? But I'll need to re-familiarise myself, etc. But honestly, I don't think Kill Bill Volume 1 was very good.
Wow.
Honestly, I can barely remember Kill Bill Volume 1.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not really a fan.
I thought the anime was weird, and I thought the way they were doing the story was weird. Oh, by all means, do the story out of order, that's fine. But, like, if you're going to tell us that she already beat the character at the very beginning of the movie, then, like, but having said that, she's going to beat it. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that is, like, a fairly tried and true
Yeah.
Hollywood thing. It's like, you start with the ultimate fight at the end, but you show them sort of haggard and fucked up, and you're like, I want to know how they got to this point already.
Yeah. Having said that, Volume 2 I enjoyed Volume 2 a lot more.
See, I was about to agree with you about I can't think of any Tarantino movies I disliked, but honestly, the closest I get is the Kill Bills.
Right.
With not disliking them, just not caring.
Yeah.
Like, if they're on, I'll be like, okay, yeah, Kill Bill, stuff's happening, she's punching her way out of a grave, everyone's talking about Hattori Hanzo. I do like that one shot where, there's the little girl, and the two of them are in the kitchen, like, and one of them pulls a gun in a cereal box. Or, like, they stop fighting when the girl's around, they're like, go back upstairs, and then they kill each other.
Yeah.
Like, that is sort of a nice moment.
Yeah.
but like honestly, the scenes in that I didn't care for.
Do you want to know the dumbest thing that people are angry about that movie for?
No, but tell me.
They're angry that their little girl, right, or girl, is now too old to be in an action movie because apparently the fans were promised that one day that exact little girl will grow up and be in the sequel. Where she's going to kill the Black Mamba.
Oh, you mean too old to be in the sequel, not too old to be in an action movie?
Oh, yeah. Well, too old to be in the sequel where she grows up to kill the Black Mamba and has her own movie. Yeah. People are angry that that's not going to happen. Okay. And I'm like, that sounds like a really fucking... It could be good, but like, why does it need to be the exact same actress?
When was that promised? Who suggested that?
I don't know, but people are... I remember reading that people were angry about it. I'm like, this is such a stupid thing to be angry about.
Never even heard that.
It was teased in the first film, I think. But I wouldn't say it's promised as such. Also, it's really interesting that you say you don't like Volume 1 the most, because amongst Tarantino fans, number 2 is seen as the weaker one.
Do they have a reason?
I am in the group that likes both. Yeah, I think they're both very solid films.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say they're probably solid, but I don't think I've ever actually watched a Kill Bill, either of them in one sitting. I just sort of fucking wander off.
Oh, I did. I watched it with my dad.
Don't get me wrong, it's the silliest that Tarantino gets, and I can understand why.
Is it?
I don't think that's... No.
Excuse me, have you seen From Dusk Till Dawn?
Okay, it's as silly as mainstream Tarantino gets. Which is why some people don't like it, and I think that going back to Jackie Brown, it's about as normal as Tarantino gets in the mainstream, and that's why I don't like it. I don't watch Tarantino to see normal and humanizing.
I don't know if this is going to check out with you, Ben, but my favourite season of Game of Thrones is season 1.
That's fair.
Not because of any of the sword fighting or whatever.
Is that an unpopular opinion?
I don't know. I haven't checked.
Yeah.
The reason is literally watching them all play politics with each other is way more interesting than watching a battle scene and all that. And seeing low-level criminals act like what I imagine realistic low-level criminals would act like is way more interesting than two people fighting with samurai swords.
Honestly, also, that was a big part of it for me, where, I did like that the criminals in this aren't very suave.
No, but that's the point. They're not very good.
They are dangerous, and they are, surprisingly powerful and capable and, getting away with things. But they're also just kind of shitty criminals.
Yeah. All right, I think before we completely wrap up, do we want to go over maybe our favourite parts of this film, our favourite things?
Yes, let's start with Ben.
Yes, Ben.
What was your favourite part of this movie, Ben?
It's going back to the favourite point bit. I kind of find it.
You enjoyed his O face.
I kind of Jesus Christ. I kind of find it hard to pick out any particular scene from this film and call it memorable or good.
Okay.
They're just kind of okay. If I had to rewatch a little bit of it, it would probably be the first scene between Robert De Niro and Sam Jackson.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
I just think having those two on screen when they're in his apartment and they're just sitting down and chilling out and just talking.
Okay, I see what you mean. So they've sort of got the shitty 90s TV and it's setting up the characters and stuff.
Chicks with guns.
Yeah, it was early on enough that I thought, okay, yeah, these two could make a good sort of dynamic, and I did enjoy seeing them together. But yeah, again, it's not one that I'd put up there with Tarantino's greatest scenes or anything.
Yeah,
that's just my opinion. Opinions.
You're allowed. Don't be a pussy. You're allowed to have. You can have whatever opinion you want. Ish.
Well, is he though?
Well, we'll give him a hard time.
Yeah.
All right. I want to talk about my favourite scene. I liked the whole sequence when Samuel Jackson is stalking outside Jackie Brown's house. That bit where he's shrouded in darkness, but you can see tiny white dots of his eyes in that scene.
Yeah. When she pulls the gun on
him. No, before then. He's sitting in the car and he's watching her get into her home. He's sat in his car.
Oh, so the scoping out before the scene, I'm thinking.
Oh, yeah, but that whole bit, starting with that until she pulls the gun on him. That whole sequence.
Yeah.
Because he looks so dangerous and scary in that scene.
Yes.
And despite him not being the best criminal, he's not Scorpio, but he is Sam Jackson.
Yeah. He's the best criminal in this movie.
Yeah. And I did...
Apart from, I guess, Jackie Brown, actually.
Yeah. And I did audibly gasp when the bail bond guy, he opens his glove compartment and the gun's missing. That's when I went, she's got the gun! I thought she was going to... I love that bit. That was great.
See, I actually kind of missed that. Like, I didn't register that it was the gun that was missing.
Right.
So when she pulled the gun and then he comes back, I was like, oh, shit. And then she's like, oh, I got another one. And you realise she's stolen Sam Jackson's gun.
Yeah.
Which, leading on to, my scene is actually starts when your favourite scene ends.
Right.
I like when they're talking in the room, the lights go out and she pulls a gun.
No, that whole bit. Yeah, I like that as well.
Oh, okay. Well, yours usurps mine, so yours ends where mine starts. Fuck you. Yeah. But yeah, like, basically I like the moments where, in particular, Jackie Brown shows how, like, shrewd and clever and dangerous she is.
Yeah.
Because, like, the movie is kind of setting up at the beginning that she is just kind of a pawn. Like, she's moving money around. Everyone keeps mentioning her age to her in a kind of rude way. And then it comes to the point where as soon as she is in, as soon as she's in a room being questioned, as soon as, someone's about to pull a gun on her in a dark space, as soon as she has to lie to the FDA, the FTA, as soon as she has to lie to them, you realise that she hasn't spent 44 years doing nothing.
Yeah.
She's not the friend on Sam Jackson's quote-unquote couch, because it's American, like, just doing drugs and things, making her own way, and it's really cool.
Yeah.
It really reminded me of that scene in Endgame where all the women get together and then fly at Thanos.
But okay, I think that's a perfect summary. I too compare it to that scene. Positive reviews all around.
Right, well, let's call it there then. So I hope you guys have watched enough other Tarantino movies, because next episode we'll be doing our Tarantino extravaganza, our Quentin Tarantino episode.
Quentin, and that'll be coming out in about 2 weeks. Once that's recorded, though, Matt, based on what you've said here, you should watch Get Shorty.
Okay. You have mentioned that before.
I have.
Get Shorty. Google.
It's a similar Sting movie. It's gangsters trying to just outwit each other to get the big money wad. And
is
stuff.
that Danny DeVito?
It is, yes.
Why is he so smooth and shiny? He's like a man egg. He's like... But look at the cover of this movie. Ben, Google this. Yeah. Look at the cover of this. Yeah. And give me your honest first impression of looking at Danny DeVito on the cover of this movie.
But this one's more of a comedy, but it's in the same vein of Criminal.
Did you see it, Ben?
Yeah. It's more of a comedy, but it's in the same vein. But yes, watch the Danny DeVito version, the 1995 one, because they made a remake with Roy from IT Crowd, and I've not watched it.
Yes, I saw that in the Google image results of this.
But that's the takeaway. Jackie Brown is good. Watch Get Shorty.
Okay. Right, well, thank you all for listening. Watch Get Shorty, and have a good evening, I guess.
Yeah.
And I had to end podcast.
Neither do I.
Let me just press stop recording.
I'll see you guys in 2 weeks for the Quentin Tarantino.
Bye! Yes, we'll see you in 2 weeks for Quentin Tarantino. And cut.